Hello and welcome to Straight Talk, Supply Chain Insights, the podcast for your supply chain leader who is on the go and wants to be in the know. And now, your host, Lora Cecere.
Supply chain management is a team sport with players that are anything but collaborative. Over the last decade, the gaps between operations and finance grew threefold when we look at respondents and how they rate the importance of the relationship and the current performance. Now, what happened is that the procurement and IT functions started reporting to finance, and finance became more interested in supply chain. But the assumption is that the efficient supply chain is the most effective. And most organizations have 5 different flows. They've got an efficient flow that's 20% of volume. That flow is very predictable, very high volume, and can be managed very efficiently with the lowest cost. And then there's a responsive flow that's all about time. It's about time to market. It's about reducing cycles. And that flow requires the design of the supply chain to be all about time. But the problem is that people don't know how to value time. And so if we're always looking at cost, we're not actually looking at time. And the responsive supply chain will never be efficient. It'll never be the lowest cost. And so we might say, well, why do we need a responsive supply chain? Well, if you're in the business of ice cream novelties or fashion and apparel or cosmetics or vaccines or anything having to do with weather, whether it's bathing suits or suntan oil, that time factor is a make or break to get to market. So we have the efficient supply chain, we've got the responsive supply chain, and we have the agile supply chain. And the agile supply chain is about low volume products that are not forecastable. And these products need to be designed in a way that the supply chain can absorb, like shock absorbers through buffers, to be able to make these products. And these are things like samples and new product launch, and maybe they're displays for trade, but they cannot go through the normal supply chain where the supply chain will kill it. And then we have the seasonal or special promotion supply chain, which is all about a particular program. And the last supply chain is all about returns or waste or the inefficiencies of the supply chain, which we want to avoid. But each of these supply chains requires design, and only 9% of companies actively design their supply chain, which is a mistake, and 23% of companies have a clear strategy. And as a result, the functions are not aligned, and they're run through functional metrics, and the functional metrics by definition don't align. And so we suboptimize the supply chain, or we have the need for collaborative action with dysfunctional players. So what can we do? Well, we can start by defining a strategy and making sure that we first define the strategy before we define the processes. The second thing we can do is we can build a balanced scorecard, which holds everyone in the organization accountable to the same results in a balanced scorecard methodology. And the third thing we can do is we can drive our processes outside in based upon market signals to decrease process latency. These 3 factors will improve alignment. This is Lora Cecere. I hope this podcast helps you. Until next time, Straight Talk with Supply Chain Insights.